But Muhammad was now not only the prophet of a new religion, he was also effectively the political leader of the community here in Medina. And he fused these two roles right here in the courtyard of his mosque where he spent most of his days. Now, as his role grew, Muhammad decided that what he really needed was an agreement that would not only formalize his role in Medina, but also his relationship with the various tribes. It became known as the Constitution of Medina and is thought to be one of the earliest written constitutions anywhere in the world. This was the first attempt in Arabia to form a state based not on tribal ties, but mutual interest. To do it, Muhammad had to win over the trust of both the pagan and Jewish tribes and make them work with each other and with his newly arrived Muslim community. Prince Hassan bin Talal of the Jordanian royal family is an expert on the Constitution of Medina.
The constitution was necessary for the establishment of a new diverse state in Medina, that is to say Muslims, Jews, Christians. So it organized the relationship between Muslims, Jews and non-Muslims on the basis of a recognition of the importance of respecting the lives, the properties, the places of worship, and in particular, ultimately, in respecting the relationship between the descendants of Abraham. It regulated rights and obligations. In a sense, it was a Magna Carta, if you will, of the Muslims. In the case of Medina, this was not a religious state. On the contrary, it was a civil state, and the government and the people were subject to the rule of law, which recognized their respective rights and encouraged them to live together.
No complete copies of the original document have survived, and although a number of versions are found in early Muslim sources written about 100 years after Muhammad's death, some historians doubt its very existence.
Was there a Treaty of Medina? We only know this from one set of sources, which had their particular biases, their particular agendas. There are some historians who have the view that there wasn't a constitution at all and there wasn't a treaty, but that this was something made up subsequently. The job of the historian in those circumstances is extremely difficult. According to the Muslim chroniclers, there certainly was a treaty and there was a constitution. Incidentally, if you look at the constitution, there's nothing in that that would surprise you if you've immersed yourself in the political sociology of that period. It's absolutely unsurprising.
Thank you very much.
The Arabic used in it is very archaic. There is every reason to assume that this is a surviving document from that period, and it deals essentially with exactly sort of practical things that you would imagine. What is going to be the position of Muhammad with regard to the tribes in Medina, with regard to the property of the people of Medina, and so on. It's a very it's not a blueprint for an empire.
The Constitution of Medina is the earliest known model of governance in Islam, and it clearly lays out the duties and the rights of citizens, as well as the responsibilities of those that govern them. For example, it clearly does away with the whole customary practice of vengeance and the practice of private justice, and establishes the rule of law.
This constitution, all the tribes of Medina, they sign it together.
Including the Jews, including the pagans?
Include everyone. They sign it to call what they call it Ummah. The
community.
Yeah, everyone is responsible for the protection of Medina, and they are equal against the law. They run a complete state with all its law. For example, if any two Jews fight each other, they will come to the Prophet and he will judge them not according to Islamic law, to the Jews' law. There is a complete court. Everything is there as a state. Right. So he built what you call it a complete civilized state in Arabia.
The interesting thing about the Constitution of Medina is that it recognized that all these people, pagan Arabs, as well as the Muslims, the Ansar and the Muhajirin, and the Christians in that city, were part of the same ummah, of the same nation. Nowadays, of course, Muslims often use the term ummah to mean the Muslim community. But that is not how it was used in that very first constitution of an Islamic state. So when people today say to me, we would like to create an Islamic state here or there, I say to them, will it be like the first one in Medina or not? And if not, why not?
Although it survived throughout his lifetime, after his death, Muhammad's constitution of Medina was first changed and later completely discarded by later Muslim leaders.
This is one of the worst problems that we have today. To me, the most important part of the example of the Prophet and the message of the Quran is the acceptance of plurality. The need for and the realization that there are many faiths, many ways, and all are capable of being a community, an ummah together. I think Muslims marginalize this message. I think they fail to hold it as the central principle of social existence. And by doing that, they actually defy the example of the Prophet.